Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band is the eighth album by the Beatles, and it was released on the 1st of June 1967. Over the course of their career, the Fab Four's sound had matured, practically from album to album, from simplistic Mersey beat to diverse and authentic rock music. Sergeant Pepper represents the most experimental phase of their career, with many music journalists calling it the first art rock album. Paul McCartney's idea for the album came just after the band had retired from touring, this idea being that their next album should have a consistent musical theme, making it an early concept album. Also, the title refers to a fictional Edwardian-era band, and the idea is that this fictional band is supposed to be playing the record and not the traditional Beatles. So this meant that the real Beatles had more wiggle room to experiment. This side of the Beatles was welcomed by the public, as Sgt. Pepper hit number 1 in Norway, Sweden, Australia, West Germany, the UK and the US. Unlike some of the Beatles' other late 60s albums, Sgt. Pepper was universally acclaimed at the time, with critics calling it a masterpiece, and felt that it would change popular music forever. Recording began on the 24th of November 1966 at Abbey Road Studios 2, and the Beatles were given a limitless budget. Paul McCartney first wanted to make an album thematically linked to their childhood, and about 6 songs were recorded, the most famous one being Strawberry Fields Forever. However, this idea was soon scrapped after 2 of these songs were released as singles and failed to reach their potential. They then settled on the fictional band idea and started writing and recording 13 songs with this common theme. The Beatles made use of a 4-track machine which allowed separate channels of sound to come together and form a cohesive whole. As with previous Beatles albums, the Sgt. Pepper recordings made extensive use of the technique known as reduction mixing, in which 1 to 4 tracks from one recorder are mixed and dubbed down onto a master 4-track machine, enabling the Abbey Road engineers to give the group a virtual multi-track studio. The post-production phase was grueling, with lots of disagreements over how the album should be released, but eventually it got released in June '67. Paul McCartney was very much the brains behind Sgt. Pepper and played the lead guitar, bass and piano parts himself for most of the album. Lead vocals are split quite evenly between McCartney and John Lennon, who plays most of the rhythm guitar parts as well as the piano and Hammond organ. George Harrison plays all the acoustic guitar parts, the sitar, and sings Within You, Without You. Lastly, Ringo Starr plays not only the drums but all percussion parts and sings With a Little Help from My Friends. Overall, the somewhat primitive recording techniques used don't hinder the sound, as the vocals, guitars, bass and unfortunately sitar are crystal clear. However, the drums sound quite dead and just not nearly as punchy as they should. In 1978, a film adaptation was made and it was absolutely terrible. Starring the likes of the Bee Gees, it was panned for its poor editing, bad acting and nonsensical plot. However, Steve Martin's comedic performance was praised by reviewers. There's very little I can say about Sgt. Pepper that hasn't been said already. It's cleverly written and arranged, well performed, and influenced every musical artist that heard it. My favourite thing about this album is the variety of musical styles on it. There are heavy electric guitar numbers, soft acoustic songs, and influence from all around the world. While I do believe that this is the best Beatles album, it's not my favourite. Yes, if there's one original thing I can say, it's that Abbey Road is my preferred album, as it just appeals to me more than the others. In spite of this, Sgt. Pepper changed the face of music forever and made subsequent artists try that bit harder, not just to create good music, but fine art.